YouTube, what up, what up, what up? It is the Super Biased Sports Show. And today, man, something happened, and we about to get into it because we might and we might not like it. What's up, YouTube? This is the Super Biased Sports Show, a place where a fan can be a fan no matter how biased their take is. I'm one of your hosts, B-Rob, and I'm here with my boy. I'm going to go ahead and let him introduce himself.
What's good, YouTube? It's your boy Tea Time here. Do us a favor, like this video, hit the notification bell, and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate y'all. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, man, today got some good news as far as coaching hires go, but also it comes up with a little bit of sour feelings as
That's for sure.
the topic becomes Eric Bieniemy to the Washington Commanders. Now, before we even talk about the implications for the Chiefs, or was it the right move, or anything of that matter, what's the first thing that you thought when you're like Eric Bieniemy, multiple Super Bowl winning coach to the Washington Commanders?
First, I was like, congratulations, I guess.
right,
Like,
right.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
good job, I guess.
right.
But it's just like, like, there's no respect for this man. Like,
Yeah,
he interviewed 17 times for 16 different teams to be their head
yeah,
coach. And the best that happened is now he's the Washington Commanders head or offensive coordinator and assistant coach. It's like I
yeah,
don't really know. It's like, good for him because he gets to separate, right? Because
right.
as long as he's in Kansas City, he's never going to get the credit for the plays or anything because it's Andy Reid's show. So
Yeah,
good for him to be able to separate, but it's a sour taste, man.
yeah.
Sour taste.
Yo, so I will say I'm glad that you said that as long as he's with Andy Reid, he'll never get the credit
Yeah.
because we know that to be true, right? We
Hmm.
know that to be true, but
Yeah.
uh, along with the owners of the NFL, it just doesn't make sense to me, right? Because whereas you've done had Urban Meyer, Cliff Kingsbury,
Hmm.
Nathaniel Hackett,
Hmm.
even think about Joe Judge was a special teams coach.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
even win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you got all these guys getting these head coaching jobs,
Hmm.
but Eric Bieniemy. And then I know the general consensus was he's a bad interviewer, right? But
Right.
the way I'm looking at it is like, well, if he's someone that's bad on interviews, I've done seen and been in workplaces where there's people who know how to do everything under the sun for the work,
For
for the
sure.
area of the job. But
Hmm.
if they go to apply for like a supervisor or a manager position, they're anxious, the anxiety make.
Hmm.
I'm not saying Eric Bieniemy it has anxiety or anything like that, but it's just like, well,
Right.
even if he's not a good hire, bro, he's produced a Super Bowl, now two. He's been a
Hmm.
part of a coaching staff with two Super Bowls,
Hmm.
and clearly he's doing something. Like he's just not hired to be hired as a
Exactly.
offensive coordinator. Like he's
Right.
doing his job in some form or fashion. Like,
Yeah. But what does that a bad interviewer? Like,
right.
okay. So because I'm bad at taking tests in school means I'm not smart. It doesn't
Right.
work that way,
Yeah, it
right?
don't
Like
work like that.
we're all different. So there I just feel like that's a cop out. Like, oh,
Yeah.
it was just a
Yeah.
bad interview. What was bad about it? Like, you got to
Right.
give us some specifics. Like,
Yeah, we need
you're
some
not telling
details.
us nothing. So
We definitely need the details.
yeah, that don't work for me, man. That
Yeah,
that
yeah,
don't work.
yeah. And look, the way I see it is just like, as you a Dallas fan, right? Speaking of Eric Bieniemy to the Washington Commanders, because I definitely think that it was more specific that he also got this assistant head coach designation, right?
Hmm.
Because it's kind of like already saying, "Hey, I'm actively head coaching,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
my next job, I know what to do. If not, I'm already going to become the head coach of the
Hmm.
Washington Commanders, right?"
Right.
For you as a Dallas Cowboys fan, knowing the type of pedigree of the offense that he's came from, if they get a quarterback, do you think they can kind of replicate that a similar offense as the Chiefs with their current weapons? You know, they got good wide receivers right now, decent offensive line, above average defensive line. Do you think that he can, you know, take Washington out of the basement?
Yeah. No, I think so. If it wasn't for their negligence of the entire coaching staff, but Rivera especially, they would have been in the playoffs, and the NFC East would have had 4 teams in the playoffs this year if it wasn't for Ron Rivera. So I feel
dude screwed that one up.
I feel like part of the reason why Bieniemy is even going there is because Ron Rivera is on the hot seat. But now to answer your question, do I think that they could replicate it? Pat Mahomes is one of one, so that's going to be difficult. But if you, even without Bieniemy, I've always said Washington just need a real quarterback, and they'll be all right. Wentz is not it. Heineke, they just don't trust him enough to be it. So if they could get a real quarterback in there, that team can definitely be solid. The bias in me will say that they'll be competing with the Giants for the 3 or 4th spot, because I still feel like Dallas and Philly going to run the division for a little bit. But if I'm keeping it 100, Washington has had their times where they snuck up and won the division and different things like that. They have a solid defense. They had a lot of injuries, and they didn't have a quarterback, and they were still almost in the playoffs. So I can't say that they're too far off. So I think that Bieniemy, if he comes in and does his thing, like, I think they can definitely be competitive for sure.
Yeah. Now, and I think because as of right now, and I feel like so before I say this, as of right now, then Washington getting Eric Bieniemy, as far as threat meter of you being a Dallas Cowboys fans, what is from 1, let's say from 1 to 5, a small scale, 1 to 5, what would be Washington's threat meter to the Cowboys? From 1 being the lowest, 5 being the highest.
I'm gonna say, because they don't have a quarterback, I'm gonna say it's a 2.
I'm right there with you, right?
I'm gonna say it's a 2.
Now, I'm thinking of a 2, right? So, which this sets up my next question, right? So, as of right now, Washington Commanders have I think the 15th or the 16th pick in the draft. One of the two, 15 or 16. So, in order for them to, I mean, if you think about it as far as big board goes, you got Bryce Young, you got Will Levis, C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, 4 quarterbacks that I think that are going to go at least before top 10, because you got Carolina, who still needs a quarterback, and I think the teams after Carolina and possibly Las Vegas are the teams that will really need a quarterback. So that's 4 quarterbacks that are already off the board. Do you think they go out and get a veteran, maybe like a Derek Carr, maybe like try to sway Aaron Rodgers to come near, or just get or even Jimmy Garoppolo? Do you think they try to get a veteran?
I think so. I feel like that has been the plan for Washington all along. I feel like that whole list of quarterbacks, Jimmy G, Derek Carr, all of them, I think everybody's waiting on what's going to happen with Rodgers. And then all these pieces are going to start falling into place. Jets, Packers, Saints, obviously Washington. And again, like, Washington is literally one of those teams where you're like, yo, if they get a competent quarterback, they'll be fine. So I could see any one of those quarterbacks where you could plug them in there, and any of them would be an upgrade from Carson Wentz.
Especially from Heineke.
And Heineke, for sure. You know,
I feel like Heineke was better than Wentz.
Definitely.
This season.
Definitely. Yeah. And I feel like they just didn't commit to Heineke, which also became an issue for them. So, you know, I think definitely, I think they go get them a veteran quarterback. They got a solid defense. They got receivers. They even got a running back. So why not? You know, if you get somebody that you can plug in there Why not? And Jimmy G, I feel like it's going to be Jimmy G,
Yeah,
just because like he needs that. You know what I mean? He needs that job that's going to. I feel like it's like a low pressure, high reward type deal
yep,
where
yep.
everybody knows what Washington is. So if Jimmy G comes in and finishes 2 in the division, right? Like you can't go wrong with that. So I definitely think that's a pretty good move, for them to go get them a quarterback, especially to match him with the enemy. I think that could be something special for sure.
Yeah, in my opinion, getting especially picking at 15 or 16. Don't quote me, guys, in the comment section. I know it's one of the two, but
Hmm.
especially picking that late in the draft, I think going to get a veteran makes the most perfect sense because even before Patrick Mahomes, he had Alex Smith, right? And they were, if you go look at that year before Patrick Mahomes took over, they were a 10-win team, right? They won more than 10 games, right? So
Right.
um I think he goes for the veteran, and Jimmy Garoppolo will be the perfect game manager type quarterback. Now, my question for you is, do you think this was the right move? Because considering the fact that this is technically not an upgrade, this is just a lateral move, even though they say assistant head coach, it's just a glorified offensive coordinator because most offensive coordinators are already the assistant head coaches, if we're going to be honest, because
Hmm.
they're usually the first ones
Yeah.
considered for an HC. So do you think that this was the right move for Eric Bieniemy's career?
Honestly, I think so. Like I said, I mean, you got to look at it. He's been to 3 Super Bowls already, right? He's
Mm-hmm.
got 2 Super Bowl victories.
Yep.
He's no matter what, he's a part of this team. Like he's contributed some way somehow to
Yep.
their success. So you can't ever take that away from him. And now he gets to take that and go somewhere else and say, okay, I'm about to go to a team that is nowhere near the Super Bowl, and now watch me work. So I think
Yep.
this is the
Yep.
perfect place because so the good thing is, right, he doesn't become a head coach where all the pressure is on him and it doesn't turn around and he gets fired immediately. Like at least offensive coordinators, they get a lot more leniency because
Yeah.
they're not the main guy.
Yep.
So it's going to take a little bit of time before he, has to, somebody's going to turn around and say, you know what, he's fired. I mean, unless Washington's offense just is bottom of the barrel, which I can't see that happening.
Me either.
So overall, yeah, I think it's the right move because also I feel like the sneaky part about this is not just him being the offensive coordinator, but the assistant head coach. And like I
Yeah.
said earlier, I feel like Ron Rivera is on the hot seat.
Yeah.
And
Especially after
this
last
gives exactly. And with all the stuff going on in Washington, if they decide, like with the owner and all sorts of stuff, if they decide to redo everything, you got Bieniemy who is a fresh face over there,
year.
where
Mm-hmm.
people are like, yo, put him as head coach and let's
Yep.
start fresh.
Yep.
So I feel like that's kind of one of those narratives that's kind of, in the making. So I think this was definitely the right move for him. Again,
So,
a low risk, high reward.
so I'm gonna give you my hot take.
Hmm.
With this assistant head coach designation, I think it was very specific that he has this, right?
Yeah.
Ron Rivera is getting fired midway through the season, whether they're doing good or bad. And the reason why I say this is think about it like um it's like in the last 15 to 20 years, only maybe 2 interim head coaches has actually won a job of a head coach after a team after being an interim head coach, right? I think the number is like
Right.
1 or 2. With
Hmm.
Eric Bieniemy, it wouldn't be an interim head coach because he's already the assistant head coach.
That's true.
I will say this though, as far as opportunity, I think this is like the best opportunity he would have.
Hmm.
But as far as the right move, I don't like it as far as the right move. And the only reason why I don't like it as far as it being the right move is because long term, I see him becoming a head coach, whether that's for Commanders or someone else. And I feel as though he'll fail. And then all of those reasons as to why he wasn't a head coach and he got so many interviews and didn't become a head coach. I feel like those people that's waiting in the wind to jump on that
Oh
is
yeah.
going to be like, oh yeah, this we won the lottery. I'm ready
Mm-hmm.
to pull up all my tweets and all the reasons why.
Yeah.
And the reason why I don't like it is because I'm gonna be honest, he's black. He's black.
Mm-hmm.
And not to get into anything racially, but we already don't get as many opportunities. And then even the leeway, right? I think the only coach we could say that's really that got leeway, and it's only because he's been successful for so long, has been Mike Tomlin, right?
Yeah.
Any other like look at the last head coach for the Texans. He got
Mm-hmm.
hired and fired in 1 year. Like it was
Boom.
already a dumpster fire to begin with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I feel like he's definitely going to become a head coach soon. I just hope that if it is with the Commanders, Chase Young, you got to get healthy because he's going to need you, right? That defense, you guys got to go out there and ball. He's going to need you, right? Because his future is riding on the success of this team, right?
Yeah.
So with his departure, do you think the Chiefs take a step back?
Man, after this year, I ain't counting them out for nothing. Like, I'm just not counting them out for nothing. I don't care what happens as long as Pat Mahomes is the quarterback.
Yeah,
that team is liable to do whatever. So no, and I also even other than that, I just feel like Andy Reid is still the guy. So the fact that Andy Reid is the main guy, they're not really losing anything with Bieniemy leaving. You know what I mean? Like they're not losing a play caller. Like it's one thing in Dallas, like we have Shoddy as our offensive coordinator, but Mike McCarthy is calling plays. You know what I mean? So if we fired Shoddy, it wouldn't make a difference because Mike McCarthy is the one that's actually calling the plays. So that's the more important thing. So I don't think they take a step back. I think this was a benefit all the way around.
Yeah. Now I will say this: the bias in me wants to say they take a step back, right? But honestly, I mean, you pointed out all the right points, man. They still got Andy Reid, they still got Patrick Mahomes. Andy Reid is calling the plays, and I mean, you see it in the Super Bowl. The 2 touchdowns that they scored on the Eagles with the fake motion.
Yeah.
Andy Reid said, "I seen the Jaguars do it against the Eagles, so I ran it twice."
Yeah, exactly. And
it's 100% Andy Reid doing his thing, getting in his bag.
Yeah.
But I will say, as far as it them taking a step back, I think situationally in some situations it might look different as far as what they might do, how they might approach things.
Yeah.
But as far as taking a step back, as long as you got Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, there is no step back because I mean, in most of the eyes of the national media, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year just because they lost Tyreek Hill. And they went to the Super Bowl with multiple rookies on their roster and won. So, you know, them guys are only going to get better. And it's going to be interesting to see what they specifically do going forward. But I don't think I definitely don't think they take a step back because it's the Chiefs and they're going to be around for a long time. Gotta respect you guys. Gotta respect.
Now, you can't count them out. Pat Mahomes. I mean, the dude, unless he's in a wheelchair,
because clearly he showed
one leg
is still not enough to stop him from playing football. So, and I mean, I hate it, but it's just like, all right, man. I'm looking at my boys like,
hats off to him.
I need to get y'all stuff together, man.
Stuff together. So. You got to. No, so that's dope. That's dope. Yeah, I mean, that's it though. Like, I mean, this is what I will end up with. This, like, congratulations to him for getting this opportunity. It's big for him.
In February, at that.
And Black History Month. So we wish nothing, rival or not. I wish him nothing but the best. I want to see him successful because eventually I want to see him as a head coach. You know, we want to see more African American head coaches in the National Football League. So, again, congratulations to Eric Bieniemy on landing the offensive coordinator and assistant head coach position for the Washington Commanders. And this is your boy T-Time here and your boy B-Rob on the Super Bias Sports Show. We appreciate y'all and stay tuned for more.